Mike. How are you?
Good, Rennie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Excellent. Well, I'm a big fan of your work, but I know we have a few minutes. Good. So I'll jump right into our questions. Starting obviously with 5 Days of War. What attracted you to the film in the first place? It does seem like it's a slightly different film from some of your other works. How did you get involved?
Yeah, I wanted to do something different. I had been for a while looking for something different, and it could have been anything. It could have been a love story. It could have been an animated film. But I said to my agents, I need to find something that when I get up in the morning, I'm not going to the set just because it's fun to blow up stuff and do cool things. But I'm going there because I'm on a mission to do something that I really believe in, something where I really think that I'm going to give people something to think about and feel about. And when I heard about these producers putting together this movie, I immediately I remembered it from the news, and I felt like this is such a great David and Goliath story, and seeing this beautiful little Mediterranean country fight against this huge superpower and try to hang on to their independence and their freedom is such a beautiful and powerful story that I had to get involved. And so I went to Georgia and did my research and just got more and more passionate more. I talked to the people on the ground and felt like I could take what I've learned in action movies and still make an action movie, still make an entertaining movie, but also get across a really human story of these people who went through this suffering.
Right, and you filmed in Georgia, and you had the cooperation of the Georgian military as well. Is that correct?
Yes, we decided to film the whole thing in Georgia. A lot of it in the actual locations where the war took place. So the war took place in 2008. So we were there only a year after. So we saw a lot of the sort of war-torn country, people with their physical scars and their emotional scars, and that made it a very, very emotional experience for the actors and the crew. And in terms of making the film there were a lot of challenges. We were staying in mountain villages with no hotels and no restaurants. Cast sleeping in farmhouses and train cars and eating in somebody's kitchen. And it's unusual to get held with people to do that. But I think everybody got really passionate about this topic and wanted to do it. And yes, we were able to sort of rent military equipment, for a very reasonable price. So that's what I'm proud about in this movie, is that I don't think people have seen in decades a movie where it's not CG. You see 100 tanks, you see dozens helicopters, half a dozen fighter jets, thousands of soldiers battling it out, and it's all real.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things that really impressed me about the film was, the action sequences are amazing, and I love the fact that it's not all CGI because that's so overdone these days. And I was curious if for you, if it was solely a budgetary thing, or if you were, if it was refreshing to be able to do a big project like that without having to rely on computers.
No, it wasn't a budgetary thing at all. It was purely that I started, I said, I want to really make this feel real and visceral and like you're really there as the audience. And I started small. I was like, okay, well, if we can get a tank and a helicopter and a couple of, people, we can still make this. But I wanted it to be real. And as things just sort of grew, and then finally, I said, I need some tanks. Can I get some tanks? And they said, how many? And I said, I don't know, 80? And when they didn't blink, I said, okay, this is going to be awesome. And it was pretty amazing to be on a battlefield. And next to me is the commander of the Air Force and the Land Force and the Tank Division. And everybody has two huge walkie-talkies with long antennas. And I have translators, and everybody's speaking different languages. And they are like, okay, so what do you want them to do? And I know that they are all waiting behind the hill. And I'm like, okay, well, cue the troops first. And then when I see the troops, there's 2,000 soldiers coming over the hill. I'm like, okay, how far are the tanks behind them? They said, about 100 yards, something like that. I said, okay, how fast do the tanks go? Then whatever you want. I'm like, okay, make the tanks go 30 miles an hour and cue them now. Then it's like these troops are coming toward me, and all of a sudden, all these Like, okay, cue the jets. So it was the ultimate for a director.
I can imagine. You know, it makes me think too, because then, you know, one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, and this maybe it's this film. What's been the most challenging film of your career to make? Because you obviously make some pretty complicated and some very action-heavy films. So, which one has been the hardest? Would you say?
I would say maybe the most difficult was It Will See, because we shot in the same tanks where Titanic was shot in Mexico, and they had giant water tanks, and the entire movie took place in water, all of it underwater, and everything in the water. So when you have a crew of 100 people in wetsuits every day in the tank with mechanical computer-controlled sharks, it just becomes it's very complicated, very dangerous, very slow. So it's just the logistics were very, very hard on that, and just spending the whole day in a wetsuit in the water. You know, people are freezing and they don't want to go to the bathroom because they have to take the wetsuit off, and all kinds of little things like that.
Right. And what film would you say of yours fans tend to react to the most? What's the one you hear about the most from your fans?
Well, obviously Cliffhanger and Die Hard 2 are the movies that people often point out, but when I get to sort of people who are really sort of film fans, I would say that Long Kiss Goodnight is the film that comes up most often, and people say, like, I can't believe that it wasn't a bigger hit. You know, that's a great film, and the same thing, Sam Jackson is a great friend of mine, and he says that when he is doing interviews and talking to fans, he gets more questions and more quotes from people who see even Pulp Fiction. So it really has its place with the fans.
Right. Wow. Well, they're great movies. They're both ones that I love. I also wanted to ask you. Obviously it wasn't a big success, but I actually really love Cutthroat Island. I was curious if you think that maybe it would have fared better if it was released in a kind of a post Pirates of the Caribbean landscape.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, because it's I'm never embarrassed to talk about that movie. You know, sometimes people bring it up, and I think those are maybe people who never saw it, or who sort of just go with the masses or whatever. But people bring it up, and it's sort of kind of like, well, that must have been a real great disappointment and embarrassment. Of course, it was a disappointment, but in terms of box office. But I still love that movie. I had a great time making it. I'm proud of it. I think that we came out too early. We had a female lead as the pirate, which probably we were years ahead in the concept of having a sort of female action lead. And we came out in the Christmas market with a very, very small marketing budget, and just got sort of completely lost in the mix. I think 90% of the audience had no idea that the movie existed.
Right.
So obviously that it's been funny to watch Pirates of the Caribbean become one of the biggest franchises. So I think that it's one of those things that we just really didn't get a chance for people to see the movie and know about it.
Right.
But I'm still happy we made it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan, so I'm glad to hear you say that.
Thank you.
So I know we're running out of time. So what are you working on next? What can fans look forward to?
I've done some TV recently, because I'm developing a couple of series, and I wanted to get really familiar with that work. So I did a couple of episodes of a TV show called Burn Notice for USA now, and then I wrote a script that I am casting right now. That it's a kind of a serial killer thriller.
Cool.
And I hope to start that in the beginning of the year. And I'm working on a kind of a mountain climbing related movie that hopefully goes soon. So I have a lot of balls in the air, and just seeing how they land and what gets going first.
Great. Well, I look forward to all of them.